The spec you want in Season 1 of Midnight. Picking the right spec, guys, it's important. Sometimes the spec you play really determines how much fun you have in a season, for sure. Now, I would tell you, always pick the spec that you find most enjoyable to play. Don't just go based on whatever is currently the meta or whatever. That's a good way to freaking, tire yourself out on a season and just find it, to be non-enjoyable for the most part. But here we go. A nice little guide here. The specs you want to play in Season 1, picking the right spec from Marcellian.
What's the best class or spec to play in Midnight?
It's a great question. You're putting up Death Knight to start the video, so yeah, of course that's the best spec, but I digress.
Have you still not picked the main or character to play yet? Do you want to make sure you get into groups? Have all our gazillion mains video failed you so far? That's cool, because we just made another one.
Meta equals depression, true.
Welcome back to Marcellian and Flame, the cozy YouTube corner where we tell you how to play the game because you've asked. No, stop it right there. You typing a comment saying, lol bro, just have fun, who cares, why watch content creators telling you what to do? Ironically, you're also here watching this video, so I don't know what's going on.
I see that comment every time too. Every time I do any kind of like class or spec or which class is the best right now, that shit, you see the comment all the time. Just play whatever's fun, bro. Even though I literally say that same thing in the videos all the time. But these videos are always cool to look at just to say, hey, maybe you're on the edge about two classes. Maybe, you're not sure you're picking between two specs right now or something. These videos sometimes are nice to help you make that decision.
But fun is, of course, the #1 criteria.
You're being forced to watch
this, right? If fun would have been
the
deciding factor, you wouldn't be here now, would you? Picking a meta spec is another way to make sure you are the right fit for a group. But hey, don't forget, you and hundreds of thousands of other players will also be thinking the exact same thing, leading to groups having 13 meta specs applying and you wondering why you are not in, despite playing Flavor of the Month.
Not only that, I mean, picking a meta spec just for the sake of the fact that it's meta, don't forget that shit's gonna change. There's going to be class adjustments and stuff, and maybe that class that was not enjoyable to you to begin with, that you're playing only because it's meta, isn't meta anymore, like a month into the season. So I think that's like just chasing the meta is ridiculous and stupid to begin with. Just don't do that. Don't. If you like a class and it's currently buffed and part of the meta, great. Fine, play it. Fine, that's good. It's a double win for you. But if you hate the class and you're only playing it because it's meta, I would tell you, what the fuck is wrong with you? Well, seriously, just enjoy the game. It's a game at the end of the day.
How can you make sure
it's gonna change
always
anyways.
Have what a group needs and will be invited for dungeons and raids? Well, if we accept the fact that there are a lot of people making good and bad class decisions and you may be competing against them, there are specs and classes that will always be good regardless of tuning. So we will explore what we think should be the criteria based on which you can choose what to play. If your goal is actually to play the game and not wait 30 minutes to get invited into a 20-minute dungeon run that someone will ruin and leave 15 minutes in.
Good. Yeah, good description of how dungeon running usually works.
The first criteria on our list for you to consider is what type of a player are you? More specifically, what content are you looking to do? If you're a heroic raider at best and usually do mythic keys lower than +12s, realistically, it doesn't really matter what you play, and you can just pick what is the most fun for you.
Yeah.
This is in terms of performance, of course. The balance of classes and specs has been pretty good when we are talking about the middle of the bell curve, and moderately difficult content has been completed by all classes with little difference in performance. I should take this opportunity to mention that all classes and all specs have historically cleared every season at the highest level consistently. We are also implying that player skill level is of such a degree where if you can play your spec right, you can do literally anything in the game. And before we go to the next criteria, I will also mention the
guy who's good at the mid-tier spec, the guy who's like mastered his mid-tier spec class, will always beat out the guy who's playing, whatever, the Flavor of the Month Frost Mage spec just because it's currently the best DPS in the game. And he doesn't actually know how to play the spec very well, and he's just literally playing it because he saw it at the top of the chart. So just the best thing to do, and the reason why I only play one class is I play Blood DK always. The same spec, same class. And the truth is, it's a good idea to become a master of a class in this game. to become a master class of whatever it is that you like to play. Because the truth is, everyone's going to get their time in the sun. Everyone's going to get their time in the shadows. But if you're really good and you master a class, you'll be good no matter what. Even on the bad days, you'll still be up there. That's the truth, because the difference in the charts really isn't that big.
Other side of the coin that almost nobody seems to mention anymore. Even if your goal is to just normal raid and play Mythic plus 2s, people will still invite supposedly meta classes and specs over others. Not to the same degree, true, but discrimination exists even when it doesn't matter.
Richie says, been playing Ret Paladin since Dragonflight, well, the Ret Paladin's a bit different, because that community threatens to shut down the Discord if they get nerfed. So, there's Ret Paladins, they're always good, because the community will literally raid the fucking front doors of Blizzard headquarters if they're not.
Because people are people and you cannot change that. Furthermore, Flavor of the Month picks can still do better than what's fun, or what you are best at, since Flavor of the Month is Flavor of the Month for a reason. Just because content can be cleared with a low performing spec doesn't mean it won't be better or easier with a meta spec instead. Does it matter if you're a meta chaser? No. Will it make it easier to get into groups? Yes. Moving on, for 15 seconds to tell you to like and subscribe to the video. 15 only because we need this cute animation to finish on the screen, and not because 15 seconds or less is how long it takes to hit that thumbs up button to earn our gratitude.
Tanks. This is me.
The second criteria, or rather the actual first safe specs to play in Midnight, start with tanks.
Yeah.
It actually swaps between...
I've always said this. You want to get groups instantly? Play a tank. Don't be afraid, guys. I know you look at me and you're like, oh my god, this guy Samiccus, I mean, he just plays the game at such a high level. Of course he's a tank. The truth is, any old Andy out there can play a tank spec. You just gotta, just dive into it. Dip your toe in the water. Yeah, there's gonna be people who cuss you out for not knowing a route or something. Whatever, fucking let it roll off your back. Learn the route live. Trial by fire. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there too if you actually want to research routes and shit. And this season in particular, season 1, of Midnight, Blizzard's actually implemented a thing for, I think, up to Keystone level 4, where they're going to kind of highlight the route for you. So you just learn the route that way. It's actually the best time ever to kind of learn how to tank.
In tanks and healers, depending on which one is less stressful to play that season. And the difference isn't big between the two, but it has been more obvious to us that tanks are in shorter supply in Season 1 of Midnight. Playing a tank is absolutely the fastest way to get into groups by a mile.
Yeah.
Right now, tanks, and again, likely healers right after them, are in such a short supply that a group will likely get a very off-meta tank before they get their second Flavor of the Month DPS.
Yep.
All of these, of course, come with degrees and levels of competition, and I will not talk about the fact that, yes, tanks have a higher level of accountability within a group. We all know that by now. Likely the most important single spec you could play is a Blood Death Knight within a raid context. Death Knights are notoriously very self-reliant by default, and when it comes to a raid environment, the best choice.
Fantastic video.
Because if you have a guild, we assume you are not having the issue that pushed you to watch this video. The reason for all this is because of their grips, and sometimes anti-magic zone. Grips are the unique mechanic Death Knights bring to a raid, and yes, Unholy and Frost has them too, but then you would be a DPS competing with other DPS for spots in a raid. And if Unholy or Frost aren't turbo-tuned high for people to want them over other DPS, which has been the case occasionally, a raid wanting a grip is more likely to get it from a Blood Decay than a DPS Decay. This is of course not absolute. More generally, more reliable than not, since we are...
If you are a Giga Chad, play Blood Decay. I mean, that's why I play it, right? It just fits me. You're self-reliant, you heal your dick off, you have big heroic moments where you can defeat shit on your own. It's a great time. Plus, we're getting tons of buffs with the season launch. It's going to be a good time to play Blood Decay.
I'm talking from a generic standpoint.
I'm a meta chaser,
There could be a tuning phase that pushes Unholy as the #1 DPS, and every raid would already have a grip source by now. Blood, however, brings that regardless of balance, and brings an AoE version of it as well, which is something Unholy and Frost do not. After Blood, the order of probability that you are likely to be joining a group with the right tank is Brewmaster next. Side note, Brew might actually be the strongest tank this season, period, at least in dungeons.
Nice.
Demon Hunter after, mostly for the magic debuff it brings, with similar arguments that Blood has for grips. After this,
Demon
Bear,
Hunter's also
Mark
super,
of the Wild
super
being
mobile
particularly strong,
for Mythic
but
Plus.
also, despite a high likelihood of being nerfed, they are the tanks with the most amount of damage at the moment. After that, it would be Warrior and Paladin. These two would be interchangeable based on their tuning. Paladin isn't as mandatory as it used to be in the past with the reduced number of spell casts present that it could interrupt. The only time Paladin might shoot to the top is if there is a spell warding mechanic. That at least can be trivialized and bring more value to the group than having just damage, grips, or a good group buff.
But again, see, this is the good thing about playing tank. Honestly, the rankings don't matter because at the end of the day, so few tanks play this game that no matter what the hell you play, people can't decide to play they only want the meta tank. They'll be in queue for 3 days. They're just going to have to pick whichever tank queues up first. So play whatever you want if you want to tank.
The worst situation you can choose to tank would be a Blood in Mythic Plus to conclude our list. Unfortunately, until Blood gets a proper overhaul of its defensives and mitigation,
it's tough.
It can never be a desired tank in pushing Mythic Plus, since it will be the first one to get flattened out by its competition. Unless it's OP. We can unpack even more
you gotta have
for
high
each
skill to
spec
run
and
Mythic
offer
Plus
even
with the Blood
more
DK.
disclaimers that can shift things. But then this video would be an hour long just for the talk of tanks. Take this and future lists with a pinch of salt, as with any class and spec recommendations ever made.
Okay, healers.
Next, as mentioned, is playing a healer. Together with tanks, these two roles are in such a short supply that you are more likely to play your favorite healer or tank and get more group invites than playing the flavor of the month mage. To put it into Season 1 context a bit, again with a disclaimer that tuning and endgame testing can still change, right now the likelihood of you getting into a group is the highest with a druid and goes down with the rest of the specs. Druid right now is...
I'm surprised he didn't put Resto Shaman up here because they're like the only healing class with interrupts now still.
Very highly and is the possessor of Mark of the Wild, the strongest group buff in the game. Additionally, it also comes with a combat resurrect ability. This is also a good time to point out that as a Resto Druid, you could fight for a spot with bears. But seeing as how bears excel because of their damage output, which is very likely going to get nerfed, Restos just bring a little bit more stuff. Resto is also overtuned at the moment and likely to get nerfed as well.
It's getting nerfed.
But its kit is still king.
It's getting nerfed this week, this reset. So it's across the board a little bit of a nerf, but I think they're still going to be good.
Then is next on the list. Groups will almost always want a Paladin if we're talking about raiding, and Holy has the highest likelihood of making it in. Same with Mythic Plus. Prod is too squishy from what the data suggests, and its back-to-back silencing kit isn't as required anymore, while Red brings no additional benefit over Holy outside raw insane DPS, something unlikely this season as well. Third best healer you are likely to play at the moment is Resto Shaman. Spirit Link, Mastery Group Buff, Bloodlust. Don't think I need to say anything more.
Interrupt.
Next on the list is usually a flavor of Priest. Discipline almost always has more value than Holy, but it received so many back-to-back nerfs that at some point it will struggle with throughput. And if you want a Priest for stamina buff, mass dispel, and power infusion, you can gravitate to Holy instead. Mistweaver and Evoker are at the bottom in terms of cool value added to the group, and
Evoker got a bunch
wanted
of buffs,
to post
and so
this
did
disclaimer
Mistweaver.
at the end. But since people just skip throughout the video, watch a short segment, then draw their own conclusion as to what the whole video...
Basically, look at this list, guys, and that's the order. The reverse happened with buffs and nerfs. Like these are happening right now as the season goes live on Tuesday. Preservation and Mistweaver got a ton of buffs, and Resto Druid got nerfed. So, you know, they're always rebalancing the ship, but kind of like tanks. I mean, play whatever the fuck you want. You're probably going to get invited.
Video is about, I will instead just say this here. Just because Mistweaver and Preservation are at the bottom doesn't mean they are shit. We just think that in terms of comparable value in relation to the other 38 specs in the game, they bring less to a group than other healers. Mistweaver has struggled with actual group defensives for years and has excelled either when raw insane throughput was necessary or when groups needed Mystic Touch and Brew and Windwalker were in the bin. Those are too many conditions to meet for Mistweaver to be a more desirable addition to a group than Druid or Paladin or even Shaman, similar to Preservation. Actually, Evoker has a better group defensive than Monk, but the positioning conditions can make it unappealing to play at high levels. And if Evoker utility is needed, this season it seems Augmentation might be back on the menu, pushing the other Evoker specs a bit lower on the priority list.
Actually, Augmentation got nerfed a little bit, but Preservation Evoker got buffed. All right, DPS.
Going down on this list, we hit our first DPS spec. Again, the way this list of specs and classes is structured is to give you guys what we think is the safest spec or class that you can play at any given time in WoW, particularly in Season 1, to ensure you have the highest chance of getting into groups. And this is being a Warlock in raids. If a raid group is forming and it has tanks and healers, the absolute #1 with no competition DPS to get is any Warlock spec you want.
Yeah, pretty much.
Simply because of Gateway. But Hellstones and Combat Resurrections are also a priority. The sheer amount of quality of life that Warlocks can bring can increase the number of boss pulls you can do in one night by probably double. If a Warlock Soulstones a healer before the pull, you wipe and the healer takes the Soulstone res and reses everybody else.
Yeah.
This saves everyone.
It's just the utility that Warlock brings to raid. They're like, you always got to have a Warlock. And then on top of that, they got 3 DPS specs, and almost always one of them is freaking good. So you're guaranteed to be viable no matter what.
Running back.
It's a utility
the occasional
class.
potato
Yeah, it is.
that got lost on the way or released 30 seconds after everyone else, getting there 30 seconds later, taking another 10 to eat. This will all add up to about 1 to 2 extra minutes lost per pool, which is usually how long a pool that wipes will last anyway. Raising everybody instantly and starting the next pull within 20 to 30 seconds instead of 2 to 3 minutes ensures simply just more game time for everyone. That and gateways being the best invention since teleports, which will save you dozens of wipes. Think of gateways as a big bucket where you put 19 headless chickens running in all directions all in one bucket and then taking that bucket from A to B. If you had to tell all the 19 chickens to move from A to B on their own, 3 will get there sooner than needed. 3 will take longer and step into a puddle on the way. 3 will forget to get there cause damage. 3 will all tab and goon on Zelza's feet, and 3 will go in the up.
Wow, what was that? Jesus. Is that picture? What was going on there? I'm not gonna be able to get it again. I gotta screenshot that. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
And 3 will go in the opposite way because, but I thought we were going left and not right. Warlocks. Bad luck protection against stupid. Next on the list is Death Knight in raids. Any kind, but likely DPS since we already included Blood prior. Almost all raids have at least one boss that spawns ads that can be gripped because the devs refuse to give Death Knights an actual group buff. So it comes down to gripping being the reason you want a Death Knight in a raid, and if you don't get a Blood Death Knight, you have tanks and healers and your first Warlock, then the next on the list is just a regular Death Knight DPS for a grip. Sometimes Anti-Magic Zone is also really good. Sometimes Death Advance is baller as well for knockbacks. Next, you need a Bloodlust in groups, whether those are raids or dungeons. The most likely Bloodlust choice you will pick is a Mage. Mages also bring Arcane Intellect as a bonus, plus a lot of other dungeon valuable utility. Shaman, Hunter, and Evoker in this order would be our recommendation for a DPS spec to be played when a group needs Bloodlust. Again, this is universally and slightly based on the presumed tuning of Season 1. Mastery buff on Shaman is probably stronger than Intellect, but if a group wants that buff strongly, it will likely get it from a Resto Shaman before a DPS Shaman.
That's true.
If that leaves them a spot to get a Mage that also brings Intellect, which synergizes well with the Mastery buff. Next, if your group has tanks, healers, the key utility DPS for its content, a Bloodlust, then the next thing a group will want is a Combat Resurrect. We place this lower on the list because Combat...
Also a good reason to bring yourself a Blood DK. It's just saying, it's like it's a combo right there. You get your Combat Res and your tank.
Resurrect can be used by engineering consumables a lot of the time, but also from the top tank and healer suggestions earlier mentioned in this list. Hence the lower priority to bring them as a DPS. The best Combat Resurrect DPS is debatable, and here it would be a checklist. Does the group have a Druid? Does it have a DK? Does it have a paladin? In raids, you likely already have a warlock for the warlock reasons and a DK for the DK reasons, so CR is likely no longer a factor. In dungeons, if the group has or the meta dictates tanks, healers and DPS that have no combat res, then you gravitate towards the next best thing on the list. And for Season 1, we think the best CR DPS in order from most desirable to least are Death Knights, Warlocks, Druids, and Paladins.
Right.
Eliminate each class based on what the group already has, and you end up with the best choice for your situation. Next in terms of priority for a group to have is a raid buff. We believe this is less important to acquire than a Bloodlust or Combat Res for obvious reasons, but maybe you disagree. Let us know down below.
Good old
Top
Druid
comment
buff.
gets a pin.
Waste to this
The strength of the buffs
Tempest, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge.
so far has been with Druid at the top, Shaman after, Mage third, Demon Hunter fourth,
I moved
Warrior
myself
next,
again.
Priest, Monk, Hunter, Rogue, and lastly Evoker. Replace the class with the best tuned DPS spec this season and you might have something like this. Balance Druid, Elemental, Arcane, Devourer, Fury, Shadow, Windwalker, Survival, Subtlety, and Augmentation.
Okay.
And finally, last is the best damage dealer this season. If your group has all of the above and are still missing a DPS spot, then your best bet is to play the one that does the most damage. It's hard to put a spec here because this changes often, and we are yet to receive the promised tuning of March the 17th, of which we have zero knowledge of. For the sake of not being too vague,
I got all the
best
knowledge.
DPSers right now seem to be Demonology, Unholy, Arcane, and Devourer. Again, this is running on incomplete data, and mostly
Okay, Devourer got nerfed. Arcane had some hotfix nerfs, but for the most part, they're still okay. Unholy didn't really get nerfed. It was just some hotfixes, so they're still good. And then same with Demonology. I believe they're still all right. The only one that really got nerfed out of these top four was Devour.
we've observed, what
I'm in the
other
future,
people have
so I already
pointed
know
out,
this.
because yes, if you want to check what the predicted meta tier lists say,
Arcane's
there
gotten
are
nerfed a couple
plenty of
times now,
content
but
creators that have
it's
made
fine.
those videos. Once again, the order in which you should consider what spec or class to play this season and
Unholy got nerfed, yes, but it's not as it's been nerfed throughout the patches. Nerf S tier to A plus tier, basically.
realistically every future season until Blizz does a massive class overhaul.
Unholy got neutered, yes, but not in the 17th patch. I got it right here. Where the fuck's Unholy's neutering? It's a fucking huge one, actually. Shit, you're right. You're right. Shit, it's fucking massive. Unholy got rocked. All right, I stand corrected. That's why it's good to be live with this shit.
Again, is the one that we recommend.
So Unholy
right
and
here.
Devour got wrecked.
Sometimes some specs can go up
Proof
and
Sam
down
never
based
reached
on
true.
tuning. Sometimes groups might not care nor want grips from DKs. Sometimes
It's still A plus tier. Yeah, I agree. Like none of these nerfs really kicked any of them out of the like super good DPS specs.
leaders run on incomplete information and elect to have
Unholy was
3
just
arcane
wrecking.
mages over a single druid with Mark of the Wild. Who knows? Discrimination will always exist, and the best way to deal with that is pre-made groups with friends or guildies, or simply be in charge of your own groups. We hope this helped, and if anyone has more advice, leave a comment for people to read down below. We already have a video about the 5 DPS we think you should main, unrelated to the meta, but simply if you are looking for a good time regardless of what content you push, right here.
Yeah, nice video overall. I mean, basically they went through, you know, which role you want to play, how you want to play it. Yes, they got into some of like the best DPS and all that, but the truth is, majority of this video was like, well, what's your play style? What do you plan on doing? Are you going to be a Delver, a Raider, Mythic Plus? Do you want to do it all? Do you need to be instant queued? Like, do you want to get into groups quickly? Like, those kinds of factors really went into the decision making this video, which makes it to me a good video. I like this overall. At the end of the day, yeah, the cliche is, okay, play whatever's fun. Sure, play whatever's fun, no doubt. Nice video overall from Marcellian and Flame.